Hello everybody and welcome back to Mate Night, where we are reviewing films until someone invites us to the Cannes Film Festival.
One day, baby.
You are hosted by myself, Jambo.
Yes.
And the X, it's Fred. I put placeholders there and never got around to them.
That's fair enough. I think it was like X-rated maybe.
Ooh.
Pornographic.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mum.
I made sure to put the and in there because I didn't want to put triple X Fred, which is
nice.
a different Fred to
Double
what
X,
you
extra
usually
large.
get. Extra,
X-rated.
Something.
Exceptional.
Today's episode, we'll be reviewing Snow White, trying to understand why it flopped so hard and whether the hate is justified. We'll start by each rating the film out of 10 in terms of our own personal enjoyment. Then we'll argue for a bit, slip into the Mate Night machine, and finish the episode with a true, correct, final, total score for Disney's Snow White.
I can't wait to hear what the machine thinks of Snow White. Yeah.
Because there's all this talk about what the score is on IMDb and what the score is on Letterboxd.
There's a lot of noise.
But there's even more chatter.
What a cut through the fat
about what the Mate Night score.
The fake news.
The machine. So have you got a score that you're kind of ready to...
I've had a score in my head for a while that I'm just going to commit to, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's...
I'm not tantalising.
You maybe I'll explain why my commitment will be...
Yeah,
Triple X. Maybe I'll explain my commitment to it once we get more of an understanding as to where we fall, you know?
Okay, right, are we ready? Should we go?
Yeah, we want to do the classic old-timey 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, who's going first?
You can go first.
Okay, right. Do you want to count me in then?
Yeah, I'll count you in. So, Jambo, Snow White, a reimagining of the oldest animated feature film, potentially might be right that, of all time. Certainly the first Disney one.
Great momentum.
Yeah. So, out of 10, 1 decimal place for anyone new. 3, 2, 1.
3.0.
2.2.
Okay, yeah. I mean, at these levels of scores, we're not far off.
Yeah. And you know when I was like, I'll commit to this, I genuinely just thought 2.2. And then when I was like, should I reconsider it? I was like, I cannot be asked.
What is the point?
Who gives a fuck?
Once it gets below like 4, I mean, just don't.
Well, I know we've given 3s before. I think I gave in the 3s for Gladiator 2. You gave in the
did, didn't
you gave in the 3s for Furiosa. And, you know, in hindsight, they weren't as bad as this for me.
Okay. So how bad are we talking?
Well, that's the thing. So as we've recently done a new qualitative analysis of the scoring that we give. And
do you want to rattle it really quickly?
We could rattle off. I mean, you've got it there. You'd have to run.
Let's not dilly-dally too much. So the trigger for this was that we were always so confident marking things 6 or 8.
6
because 6 was mixed.
And 8 is great.
So we were like, okay, let's go down the rhyming route. Mm-hmm. And we landed on 10 is 10.
10 is 10.
Which is because everyone knows what 10 out of 10 is.
And 10, you know, it's in a category of its own.
9
is
sublime.
And that's accurate, I think, because it's better than great, which we all know is 8.
Yep. Then we get on to
7's a bit of the rogue. It's the Joker in the pack.
It's not just smooth. How is it? It's
smooth.
It's smooth.
So 7 is better than, you know, it's a good film. And and when I say this, I want to just add that our gut reaction scores are a bit more subjective, so we won't hold them up to this as much. This is much more when it comes to kind of final scores. This gives you a better idea of where they sit. But 7 being smooth, it felt just right, didn't it?
It really did.
Just like very Goldilocks zone. 7, nice. That's nice.
It's smooth. It's smooth.
6 is mixed, as everyone bears no explanation required.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. It's mixed.
And 5?
5 is a bogey.
5 is a bogey.
It's not good.
Yeah.
But it's not terrible.
Not terrible, but it's like a golf bogey.
It's a golf bogey.
Not a nose bogey.
Yeah,
it's like
which might be more like a 4.
Sometimes a bogey is actually like salvaging a good hole within golf. So we were saying,
what's that for?
You know,
5?
Some films maybe, you know,
it's got something going for it.
Got something going for it. Yeah, it's not a stinker.
Okay, 4 is poor.
We're back on rhymes. Back on rhymes. We had a little detour there. 4 is poor. No more detour.
3. Okay, there were a couple we really struggled with.
What did we land on with 3?
Crap.
3 is crap.
3 is crap. That's probably our worst one. So that's a 3 out of 10.
But
now,
we've
really.
got a great one coming up
Because 2 is just straight up poo. But to try and...
Which is worse than crap.
Which is definitely worse than crap. But I've spelt it poo as in P-E-U-X because I'm sure we've got some other reference to French. No, don't.
I think you were just so upset that I said, can we call it two is poo? And you're like, no, I refuse until... Yeah, happy. Well, I basically just bashed Jamie over the head with this two is poo every time the number two came up. So yeah, we're on two is poo. And then one. So one, we needed to have something that's worse than bad, really. And that's, something that we are morally against. Mm-hmm. Really, this could have fallen in that category in some respects.
Oh, definitely.
Which maybe we will get into. Yeah. But one, then we've landed on one ethical.
Yeah. So, this was why I went two is poo spelled P-U-X is because I went unethical,
which you said was Scottish.
It's French,
but we'll go with French.
Un pour toi.
So yeah, if you're ever wondering what did the Make Night scores really mean, hopefully that gives you a better understanding.
Sorry for the detour from Snow White. So you've gone with two.
Double poo.
Talk to me about what the main thing that made this a 2 out of 10 is. Why was it really bad?
I would say it was just really boring.
Okay.
And so that was my lasting impression. Going back and thinking back on it, I was like, look, they've done all these things that, unnecessary films are unnecessary, remakes are remakes. We had a commenter actually take umbrage with my response to Gladiator 2, and it was fairly justified. I think part of my issue being, why do we keep having these remakes when the argument that was posited was that remakes are a kind of tale as old as time. So I'm not going to have that much of an issue with that for Snow White. However, just the sheer boredom I felt all the way through waiting for this to finish, I just wanted it to really feel the effects of that. It deserved to have a lower score than just your average 5. So sometimes I'll go, look, if it was a pretty boring film, it'll hover in the 4 to 5 range. But because there were other elements that I really didn't like, so the dwarves, the CGI on the dwarves is crazy bad.
Close to the uncanny thing where it just felt a bit uncomfortable.
Just why are we doing this?
The uncanny valley thing.
Obviously, there's the whole kind of diversity aspect, which I don't care that much about, but it does. In this case, it seemed particularly stupid. Snow White, who's literally her skin is white as snow, that's why she's called Snow White. And then you're like, okay, how will they explain that away? It's like, by the way, I'm spoiling
We're spoiling. Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Let's be honest, no one's watching no one's watching this.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. No one's watching it.
Don't watch it.
No one's going to watch it based on our anti-recommendation. Yep. So, we're going to go straight in. And Snow White, their retconning of the name for her was that she was born in a snow blizzard.
That was it, wasn't it?
So they called her Snow White.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if the kid was born in a blizzard, and you really wanted it to be remembered for that, wouldn't you call it Snow Blizzard?
No.
Why would you call it snow? What? Where's the white come in?
Why
she's
the fuck
she's
would you
not
call it
white.
blizzard?
She's Latina. Imagine
you can't call your kid fucking Blizzard. What are you, Kim Kardashian?
I bet kid's called Blizzard. Well, why would you call it Snow White? Why would you plump on? I've never heard the term. If I'm thinking, wow, a snowstorm, I've never thought that Snow White. When I think of Snow White, it's literally because of the colour.
Yeah.
It's this is a very pure version of white.
Chili.
So chili.
Or hypo. I don't know.
Hypothermic.
I mean, there's so much to play with there, but
yeah. Okay, so Snow White, I didn't really like that. I didn't like the dwarves. I kind of forgot. We started the film, and then they went into a song. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a musical. And I forgot that it would be. It makes sense because a lot of Disney films are musicals, but songs across the board were dreary, dull.
Broadly,
not memorable. There was one I kind of liked, which probably saved it from being in the ones.
That for me was why I gave it a 3. Was for all its problems, I did leave the cinema whistling.
Did you?
A little bit, yeah. I was kept catching myself whistling in the afternoon.
What was that on? Was that the Princess?
I can't even remember. I was even whistling completely irrelevant stuff, but I was like, I never whistle.
Right, yeah, but it doesn't count if you are just whistling Oh, I suppose they do say whistle while you work. So you reckon that's why?
I didn't mind the music so much. Like, if I didn't hate everything else about the film, then I'd probably come out and go, yeah, the music was okay. It's just because I, like, broadly, horizontally just hated this film. The music probably gets a worse reaction than I think. It's just okay. It's like a 5-6.
I thought the music was, like, pretty dull.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I didn't like any of the songs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like... You know, sometimes when you watch something with musical songs in it, you think, okay, these songs serve a purpose.
Yeah.
I've not come out of it thinking, wow, that was a really memorable one. I like that. Like when we did Wicked, I hadn't seen Wicked before. And I knew when I was listening to certain songs, like, I really like these songs. After it, I told you, went on the tram, accidentally played it out loud because my headphones weren't connected to Bluetooth. Very embarrassing.
Very cool, yeah.
But I was immediately like, yeah, I want to listen to some of these songs. Even for musicals where you're not enjoying the songs to that extent, you can still usually be like, oh, this is all right, this is fine, this does a job. I very much was not in that camp. I was like, I'm finding these songs very boring and I don't like them. Apart from Princess Problems, which was fine.
That's it. There are a couple of all right ones. It reminds me of one thing I really wanted to get your take on, which was Gal Gadot's accent.
Gal Gadot generally was bad.
It was so bad.
The only thing that she was good at was being the fairest in the land.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that really detracted from the film.
She wore such an ugly outfit the whole film as well.
But you know what? The Queen wears the stepmother, the evil step witch, wears a weird outfit in the original animated film, which I rewatched, by the way.
You for this?
I did.
You good man.
I was like, you know what?
That's what you guys come here for.
I'll watch Snow White
That
again.
level of commitment.
Yeah, but I'll watch a film from the 1930s, which, if it's going by any of our previous experience with that, will be a real mixed bag.
Well, out of 10, Snow White original.
Out of 10 for me.
Yeah, subjective.
Gut reaction. Whoa. 5.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still not great.
Nah, not great. The animation's really dated. It is like genuinely, you know, all the hot water that they got into in the marketing run up for this. Did you hear about any of that?
Yeah. That was unavoidable.
For kind of shitting on the way.
That was one of the things that they did wrong.
One of the many things that they did wrong, but let's pick that one specifically. When they shat on the original Snow White and Rachel Zegler kind of went about it in a way that really made her come across as very annoying. I did think, fucking hell, you can't be shitting on Snow White. It's literally the first animated feature film of Disney. It really did put them on the map. Like, they won honorary Oscars for that, and it really set up the whole
imagine
company.
Shitting all over a beloved film. Who would do that? Like episode 7, 9, 14.
Hey, we're in season 2 now. We didn't announce that.
Potential. We'll come back to that. Yeah. We're on a roll.
So I thought, well, you know what? Let's rewatch it. And I'll be honest with you, like, it is very dated.
But she did it. She was more dragging politics into everything, which I think was really the bigger problem. And
I think it was but also I do think that it was very easy for people to paint it with the brush of leftist woke agenda.
I agree, actually. Yeah,
I got a bit tired of that by the end of it. Like,
as in, like, people just basically bullying the whole thing. It's just cancelling.
I'm actually starting to be kind of today.
Are you coming out?
I'm a gay Latino. No,
heard it here first.
I'm actually becoming, kind of pro. She's like my guilty pleasure now, Rachel Zegler. I don't think I'm that far gone, actually.
Yeah, that's a big statement.
Mate. I just kind of think that if someone had an argument with me about Rachel Zegler, I would back her corner.
You know what, mate? I was going to come to this episode and make one defense in her direction, which was like, yeah, she's irritating as fuck, but she's obviously still just like a kid. And then I saw that she's 23 years old, and I realized there's no excuse for it.
Well,
but she is like, okay, she is 23, but I look at her and I'm like, she's just like a 15-year-old. Like, she's just like like, we were all irritating little shitbags at that age, and she's just a little irritating and has an audience of millions of people.
Just classic, just drama kid, you know?
Yeah.
Needs to be center of attention. Hey, you know what? Time for kind of home truths. I remember one time when I was represented in primary school to be like, we had Ofsted. In the UK, they have this thing called Ofsted, where your school gets judged and then it's graded. It's quite a big deal.
Yeah, it's massive.
Real big deal.
Are
and they choose kids where they're like, okay, we're going to get these kids to speak to Ofsted. And they did like one every year.
And they picked you.
They picked me as just like model student. I don't know. Anyway, so there was a girl who I kind of fancied in the year above in the room with us. And so I just decided to be like, I'm going to crack some jokes. Like, I still remember
That doesn't surprise me
Mate,
at all.
The Ofsted guy was like, hey, is there anything you don't like about the school? And I was like, the teachers. So I did this the whole time. That's the only one I clearly remember.
Yeah, like, acted up.
Acted up, and like my sister was in there as well, by the way. And so I remember we had sports day like straight after, and my sister was telling my mum about it. My mum was like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, "No, it wasn't that bad." And then literally, like the next day, my teacher just bollocks me. She like took me to one side. Basically, he came into the classroom and said, "These are all the answers the kids gave," and obviously without context,
without you giggling about it. It's just like, what do you not like about the school?
One of them said he doesn't like the teachers. So a bit of a tangent there, but I literally empathise.
Kids acting up and being a bit
you grow out of it, obviously, but you know, she's kind of drama kid that's literally centre of attention, right? Yeah. And she went about it a bit of a wrong way, and she was crucified, right? Absolutely crucified.
It's totally unfair. She's irritating, but it's just kind of cancelling and bullying a little bit towards her, and like, yeah, she's annoying, and the film is bad, but the reception that it got, it feels like it's just kind of off the back of how everyone just fucking hates her.
Well, the thing is as well, if Disney are on this mission to make all these radical choices to like I don't know, kind of shock factor, I guess. Like, we're going to do Snow White and we're going to cast someone who has a Latino,
who is not white.
Who's not white, yeah, right. And you know, obviously they racially I don't know what the term is, but like race recast or whatever.
Sure.
Like, they did it for The Little Mermaid as well.
Yeah, they did.
And, you know, the whole South Park coming out and saying, you know, Kathleen Kennedy's just put a chicken in, make her gay. The whole trope now that we have of Disney, that stereotype. Look, the thing is, Disney can do all these rogue, wacky things, and if the product that they're bringing out is going to be good, people will forgive it.
I agree.
If Snow White had been really good, and I understand The Little Mermaid was pretty good, people don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wicked had these issues in marketing, but everyone liked it quite a lot, so completely forgiven. In Snow White's case, it was just a pretty wank film, which really had no direction, wasn't enjoyable. They change bits which were unnecessary, and then they didn't really have the balls to properly go and change more.
There was an inconsistency with like their whole messaging with, you know, inclusivity, and then having like the golden opportunity to give 7 dwarf actors an opportunity to be in a major film, and they chose not to take it. And that inconsistency just felt bizarre.
Well, what's your understanding of this? Because this was affected by some comments from your friend of mine, Peter Dinklage.
What?
Did you hear about this?
I'm not aware of this.
So when it came out, I don't know what stage Disney were at when these comments were made, but when it was announced that they were making Snow White, they recast her as someone from a Latina background. They also, we're saying it's still Snow White and 7 Dwarfs, but we've recast the main character, so they're no longer white. And Peter Dinklage did an interview where he said, they're making such a big deal out of recasting for progression's sake, but they're still doing a film about 7 fucking dwarves that live in a hut in the woods. And he was like really lambasted the concept of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs.
Like the core, not the remake they're doing.
He's like, why are you even remaking it? Like, this is an outdated idea. He was very anti it, and he came out in an interview and said that. And then Disney said, well, we're actually going to approach it in a different way. We're being very considerate. We're speaking to people in the dwarf community.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's part of the reason why they landed on not actually like creating magical creatures who weren't played by dwarves, which in itself has caused a lot of backlash, because loads of dwarf actors were like, well, this would have been a very big opportunity for roles. And a lot of them are very angry with Peter Dinklage. So,
yeah, okay.
So this, and also I want to add, I don't have any dog in that fight. I can kind of see both sides.
I just want a good film. That's all I care about ultimately. But I think that the part of the reason, if we're trying to identify why Snow White's done so bad, I think like they've upset the non-woke by insulting them with Rachel Zegler, and then they've insulted the woke by taking a great opportunity for dwarf actors to be in a massive film, quite a few of them, and just not taking it. And so it's just like you've just kind of managed to upset everybody there.
But yeah, I think that's the confusion, because there's two sides even
within that one,
quote unquote the left. Let's call it the left who are happy with Snow White. Let's pretend that all left wingers are happy with the idea of Snow White. Say that was the case. Even within that made up group, it sounds like there is a tension between whether there should be dwarves in it or there shouldn't be, and so all of this probably would have been remedied by if they just made a good film. Yeah. People just forget those sort of arguments, don't they?
I think one of the things as well that I've been thinking with Snow White is I feel like I'm seeing a lot of reviews and a lot of people talking about it in the way that you would expect someone to talk about like a big blockbuster thing like the next Spielberg or something like that, where they're properly reviewing it. And I think it's because of the way that Disney might have marketed it. I don't know. But when I was watching it, I was like, I went in expecting a proper film. And what I realized was this is just a bad kids film. Like there are loads of bad kids film that are like this quality, where it's just like you sat there and you're just like, this is garbage, but like it's colorful. And so like anybody, like, honestly, I think anybody around the age of 7 will probably quite enjoy it.
I've heard I read a few comments went on Reddit. Love going on Reddit. Read a few comments about people who took their kids to it. Kids loved it. So.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And that was what I got when I watched it. I was like, this is trash, but I don't think this is...
It's one for the kids.
I think they've kind of tried to aim it at me, but I don't think it should have been aimed at like the way they marketed it. I just think they should have just aimed it at kids and just tried to fly under the radar.
Yeah, a lot of certainly the most enjoyable kids' films tend to be, as adults watching them, ones where they do leave a bit for you as an adult to enjoy. This wasn't one of those, if they tried it, they failed. But kid is colourful, isn't it? It's a story. It's
easy to follow. It's just a bad kids film. It's just a typical bad, and it's a shame because Disney and DreamWorks are capable of releasing incredible kids films. But it's forgivable to release a not great. Like I think it's just completely unforgiven the way it's been released. But actually, there's quite a lot of films that are released which like a 7-year-old will just enjoy. It's just this one's been marketed to the entire planet as like a proper film, and it's just fucking not.
No. All right. What did you think of Dopey being too scared to speak?
It was just a bit weird. I just felt I always just felt a bit creeped out by Dopey.
Dopey was freaky as hell, wasn't he?
Yeah,
then when he spoke, he was even weirder.
Yeah, it really made me uncomfortable. They tried to make him too cute, and it just made him a bit sickening to look at. Like he was just like every single thing about him was made to be like, I am the cutest thing in the planet, and it didn't come across as cute. It just came across as like this sickly, sweet little creepy thing that was just like weaving its way into your heart, and you're like, I don't fucking want you, mate. Just stay away.
And it definitely got to the point where they're like, okay, how many things can we be progressive on? Like there's Dopey, the character famously from the original, doesn't speak, and there's no reason given. He just doesn't speak, and now they're like, Snow White comes into the new version. And it's like, what, you're just too scared to speak. And it's like, okay, here's another thing they want to throw in the mix. It did feel a bit like, okay, how much are you trying to bite off here,
Disney are trying too hard to make their films their political playground, and they're forgetting to just make good films.
Yes, big time. And I know that there are a lot of people in, I'd say our space, but I know there's a lot of bigger YouTubers than us and bigger podcasts than us that have kind of... It's become kind of a soapbox for them to get up on and really go anti-Disney, what they're doing. But it's true in many cases. A lot of the films they're making at the moment are really dog shit.
They're just
it's not going to help if you want to be this outrageously... No, I'm not going to say outrageously, but if you want to change the status quo, right, to the point of we really want to change the narratives around... femininity, certain areas of race politics, agendas.
Sure.
Then you got to be backing it up with good stuff. Like the best thing when any big movements that happen culturally tend to have some real powerful art behind them.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it's kind of the opposite of that.
That's such a good point. Well, I've got one last thing I wanted to bring up, and that was it. And then
how are we doing for time?
We're at 24 minutes.
Okay, not too bad.
The actual figures I heard for this, so I'm sure you've probably heard $270 million budget.
Yeah.
Do you know what their marketing budget was for it before they just completely blacklisted Zegler from going on anything? Do you hear about that?
Well, it must have been a massive amount because they released it a year late, didn't they?
There were like 3 re-release things.
Oh my God, what was it?
Total budget, almost bang on. So it's 270 million for the film, 230 for the marketing. They spent $500 million on this film, and they made 80 million on release.
Wow.
And then you know what as well? They have done real serious damage to the reputation of their whole thing as well. So it's not just the massive loss in terms of the finance. Like Disney's name has been damaged more than perhaps any other film that they've done now. I can't think of a film where Disney's name has been dragged through the mud as badly as this Snow White one.
Yeah, it's been shocking.
It's made Joker look like a good release.
The only thing that I would say has kind of been, I say positive, but I guess damage limitations is the fact that at this point, whilst it's come out, the fanfare for it has been so minute that it doesn't seem to be doing as much reputational damage now as it was about a year ago.
Yeah,
when it was originally in the works. Now it's just kind of like a petered out.
Well, I mean, since its release, I've tried to in preparation for these episodes, I'll try and get my algorithm to feed me a little bit of stuff, just to see what the people are saying. And I haven't seen anything that wasn't 100% hate. Where they were I was like, this is venomous. This is these guys hate this film. And I'm like, look, it's not good, and Zegler's irritating, and they've got this inconsistent ram down your throat messaging. But I don't know if it's a 3 out of 10. It's just move on.
Yeah,
I don't care about this.
There are a few things that make you think, oh my God, and I think that you detract it just for the amount of stuff that has gone wrong. How disastrous it was. It means it knocks it down quite a few. Generally speaking, though, it's just very boring and doesn't add anything to your life going to it. One other little minute point I'll say on Rachel's behalf. Of course, I don't share this opinion because I'm not this shallow.
Okay.
But I'll just let you know what Rachel said, and you can make your own opinions.
Sure.
I would never say this.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, I don't judge women by their looks.
Start clip now.
What Rachel said.
Start clip now.
Was her biggest issue, one of her many issues, is the fact that Snow White is considerably less fair than the stepmother.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
If the point
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot is hey, it's no shame in losing to Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot's like a statue, a statue made of dreams.
Yeah, that is.
But okay, so there's that. And if you're going to say yes, but she was fair on the inside, but wasn't everyone always fairer than the stepmother on the inside?
That's such a good point.
So
if the mirror's taking that into account,
well, it looks like the mirror's very surface level.
But not too surface level, because eventually he does switch to Zegler, and if we're being objective...
Maybe I'm just a bit... No, sorry, maybe Rachel is just a bit unhappy with the inconsistencies with the mirror's beauty power scaling.
But
I said, hey, I didn't even notice it, so...
Yeah. Okay. Well, I tell you what, very quickly, you reminded me is, you say everybody in that universe is relatively fair. I came across a hilarious theory that was and I came across this theory before I watched it, and it was the parents were basically running a monarchy-led communist society. Right. And then Gal Gadot turns it into this vertical capitalist hierarchy, and it's just this push to get communism back in. And I was watching it, I was like, holy shit, it actually kind of is.
It's socialist.
One of the first lines in it is it was this perfect haven where everything that was produced was owned by the people who produced it, or something like that.
It was a bit of a commune, wasn't it? But I think, hey, we don't want to get too political on Mate Night, but in a small environment like that, I think potentially that sort of thing could work. It's just when it gets a bit too large.
Well, the parents had a fucking bigger house than everyone else.
Yeah, that's true.
Just saying.
But Snow White knew everyone's name.
Oh, yeah. And she gave that girl that hat.
Hey, there's Blizzard, babe.
At the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, is there anything else you want to bring up before we slip into the Mate Night machine?
Okay, so just for, I will say this for the benefit of Tara, because she actually gave me a lot of time today, is all the stuff that Rachel Zegler is doing politically around kind of the whole tweeting Palestine, pro-Palestine stuff is one thing that's pretty ballsy, whatever side of that you fall on. And this is why my thanks to Tara, who has helped me with this today. She's very politically conscious, unlike myself, and she basically gave me all the reasons why you would believe one side or you'd be more in favour of the other. And certainly with the Rachel Zegler thing, look, she believes her side, and nothing's stopping her from doing it, and you got to respect that.
It's crazy.
Like, my understanding is that the tweet, always pro-Palestine, was on the back of like here's an advert for the new Snow White pro-Palestine.
It was, yeah. It got 8.8 million views in like an hour.
That is not, Disney were not allowing that.
Yeah, they blacklisted her from everything.
Fair play to her. Like she, you know.
And you know what makes that crazier? Do you know that Gal Gadot is from Israel?
Gal Gadot's from Israel. Gal Gadot is.
They had to get a security detail for Gal Gadot following that message.
Yeah, so she's kind of Zionist, former member of the Israeli Defense Force for 2 years, Gal Gadot.
Really?
Now, to be fair, just to purely like paint the picture as fairly as possible.
Facts.
One thing that I've seen from Gal Gadot's, quote unquote activism is the fact that she's very balanced.
Yeah,
which must be very difficult because she is like Israel's most famous person.
Right.
Certainly famous celebrity,
so
I'd say.
Have a lot of people from that end kind of.
She really has to be. Like every time she doesn't say specifically, I am super pro-Israel in this situation. She gets flamed by loads of high-ranking Israel officials. So what she's doing is basically saying, "I don't like war," and I think that's pretty fair.
That seems fair enough.
Whilst being Israeli, so.
Well, that has actually been a really interesting episode and a shorter one for us because we've been very strict on it today. So,
yes.
Well done us.
Shorter, and I thought we really kind of gave our all into explaining why we didn't really like this film. I wanted to, as I said, give some thanks to Tara, a little assist there. I know we didn't go into it as much as I potentially said I would, Tara, but that is a can of worms, so we'll leave that for today.
Oh, yeah, that's not Main Night content, unfortunately. But what we're going to do is we're going to slip into the Main Night machine. We're going to ask the Oracle to give us the final score.
We're not
entirely sure who's going to be able to listen.
We're going to fall through a forest. We're going to get some branches are going to grab us.
We might hi-ho.
Yeah. We might off to work we may go. We've got princess problems. We're no, I'm not going to say that.
No,
let's leave that and go into the main machine.
Okay, we'll be back in a minute then.
There's a tree. There's a deer. Also, inexplicably in this woodland forest, a turtle.
Oh yeah,
a tortoise. What was it? But having said that, one of my major complaints was that I was like, "What the fuck is that tortoise doing? Why am I so upset by this?"
That's obviously the most unrealistic part of this whole film.
It is in the original, which I'd forgotten about.
Okay,
so I was like, "Oh, completely forgiven."
Well,
so didn't mention it, but. I still don't understand it. Like, okay, if you're going to give like a menagerie of different animals from across the globe, do that.
Why not do woodland animals plus
chucking a rogue tortoise, and then deer and squirrels and mice and rabbits?
Right, you've diverged. We've been back for literally 1 second and we're on a tangent. So back on.
All right.
We've been to the Mate Night machine.
The Mate Night machine,
and it has given us the correct score. So, Snow White, $500 million spent on this film.
Billy.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of cheddar.
Not beloved, to say the least. Mostly because people seem to really hate Rachel Zegler, and you know what?
But hey, I'm Team Zegler.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
You're so counterculture, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. I've got an Android phone.
Okay, so the Make Night Machine has determined that Snow White, out of 10, the final correct score, once and for all, it got a 1.7 on IMDb. But
really?
I think it might actually be the lowest rated film in history on IMDb.
Oh my God, that is stinky.
3.69 out of 10.
That is really bad for Mate Night, though. Like,
it is. We're very generous.
Is that the lowest?
Let's have a quick look, see if we've ever had anything lower than that. I feel like I might have. Yeah, no, that is the lowest film we've ever done.
Yeah, I didn't. Have we had anything else in the threes?
Nope, that is the only film we've ever had in the threes. And that's because it has to be consistently terrible across the board to get lower than that.
I think that's a good score from the Mate Night Machine, and I'll make the case that 1.7 IMDb is too low. People are
just jumping on a hate train.
Overdoing it here. It's not very enjoyable. If you're an adult, go and see it. You won't like it.
Yeah.
Most likely, I'll say. But your kid, maybe not all kids, but there are going to be a proportion of kids. Yeah, maybe it's the old Transformers rule. At what age would I have stopped enjoying this film? Probably like 6.
Maybe, 5.
5.
Yeah. But whatever the case, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be releasing these episodes once a fortnight.
Yeah, we're back on form now.
We're trying to get to Cannes, so if you could just like ping them a message on X or something.
And work us out. Yeah, how do you actually get to Cannes? That'll be a good starting point.
We got to hit 1 million subscribers, so make sure you subscribe.
500 million budget?
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
See you later.